What's up, everybody, and welcome to an all-new episode of Casters of Horror. I'm Chris Mess.
I'm Shane, and this week we explore a post-rapture world with Azrael.
Yes. Is that how you pronounce it? I guess so.
Azrael.
Azrael, yes. This film came out, well, it's coming out. It came out in theaters. It's still in theaters. But it will be coming to Shudder here on the 25th of October, so you guys can check it out there. This is a film that stars Samara Weaving, who you guys might know from such films as like Ready or Not, Mayhem, Guns Akimbo. She was in Scream 6. She was in... What else, Shane? I'm trying to think.
She was in Bill and Ted 3. Right?
Bill and Ted, that's right. Face the Music and The Babysitter, both Killer Queen.
Oh, yes, The Babysitter. How could I forget The Babysitter? That's like one of my favorite films ever.
Great film.
Yeah.
This was directed by E.L. Katz, who did Haunting of Bly Manor, an episode of that. Some TV stuff, mostly. And he worked on a segment for ABCs of Death Part 2. It was written by Simon Barrett, if you guys are familiar with him. He did You're Next, The Guest, which starred Dan Stevens, which I talked about last week. He also did a segment of VHS. He's done a few other films as well. So you guys can check him out. Check out his IMDb. Very good writer. Anyway, this film, like Shane had mentioned, is set in the post-rapture world, and no one speaks at all, except for one Russian dude. I think he was Russian, or maybe he was Portuguese. I don't know.
It didn't sound Russian to me, but
yeah. So anyway, so this world, basically, to atone for their sins, they don't talk. They kind of like self-mutilate.
Yeah, they can't talk. They made sure that they can't.
Yeah. So anyway, there's a devout community of religious zealots or whatever, and they are hunting down a young woman who's played by Samara Weaving. And they are trying to sacrifice her to something in the woods. Yes. Does that about sum it up?
I think pretty much, yeah.
Without giving too much away?
Yeah. I think it's kind of established pretty early on. It seems like this lady is likely a former member of this group, right? Because they all have the same, like, neck scars, right?
Possibly.
That is my assumption, because the one character you mentioned who does speak doesn't have that. Right.
Yes.
So I kind of just assumed that this is like a cult in the woods type thing.
Yes.
Should we go over the idea of the rapture? I mean, because I don't even know. Yeah, it's familiar to you and I, but
who wants to go who wants to go to Sunday school? Let's go to Sunday school. Shane, I will let you handle this one since you're all excited about it.
So the rapture is an idea that a lot of people like to pretend is biblical. It's the idea that someday God pulls all the faithful Christians just up out of earth, into heaven, and they just disappear, right? When that happens, or if it's an actual real event, is, a point of contention among the believers in it. There's really no agreement. But, when something was just invented a couple hundred years ago, I guess they really haven't had a lot of time to nail down the specifics. So,
and the modern version of the rapture, it was actually coined in the 1950s, believe it or not. So it wasn't that long ago.
The actual term.
Well, yeah, the term of the rapture, being caught up, going up to heaven, and
I know.
Jesus,
was it John Nelson Darby?
Yes,
something like that, and then some other unrelated, some young girl who claimed to be having visions, but then it entered popular culture, and now everyone acts like it was always part of the biblical narrative. But anyway, that's the idea, that all the Christians have disappeared. So
Sunday school,
yes,
Sunday school with Shane. We'll have a new segment every week called Sunday School with Shane.
Well, I mean, obviously, like, just beyond the rapture, there's more to it. You know, a lot of this movie does pull some from the book of Revelation in the Bible, right? And so there are some more things beyond just the rapture. This is, but as far as I can tell, this movie is supposed to take place like 200 years or something after the biblical rapture.
After the rapture. Huh.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
The only thing that I saw the correlation was the AK-47s. Because they still had ammo 200 years after the rapture.
Yeah.
Anyway, cranking out the guns. Anyway, you're a big Samara Weaving fan. So I know you were looking forward to seeing this one. This one had been on our radar for a while. I remember sending this one to Shane, and he said, Samara Weaving's in it. We're watching it. And I said, okay. So anyway, I'm going to let you start off like I don't every week. I'm going to let you start off. What was your thoughts on this one? Sure.
So I have to ask because, well, I was curious to know if you had watched a trailer for this ahead of time.
Yes, because I sent you a trailer at one point, didn't I?
I think you sent me the.
I know I sent you the poster.
You sent me the poster, yeah.
I'm pretty sure that I had watched a trailer for it prior.
Okay, and see, I hadn't.
Okay.
The only thing I knew about this was that the main character's name was apparently Azrael. And that I think I had heard that it takes place in a post-rapture world. That is literally all I knew about it. I did not know anything else about this. The only thing
that was her name. That's why this movie was called Azrael.
Yes. Oh, which is a solid point because it's not actually said. Right?
No.
There is no indication. It's just from basically.
Believe it or not, nothing's actually said. Yet everybody has names. So there you go.
Yeah. And that's kind of like get the elephant in the room, acknowledge the elephant in the room here is that this is a mostly dialogue-free movie.
Yes.
Right? Which we've been kind of seeing crop up more and more, right? We saw this with No One Will Save You. I think it's probably the biggest example of one that we've had recently. So yeah, this is a mostly dialogue-free movie, which means that anything that you find out either has to be kind of conveyed through various other means or told in, other, interviews and stuff like that. The question is, can a dialogue-free movie work? I think we know that it can. Did it in this case? I'm actually going to say yes.
Okay.
I think that this actually worked pretty well. Right, there are some visual cues throughout the movie with some some like drawings and paintings on the wall and stuff. You kind of get, I feel like you get enough of what's going on to kind of piece together a little bit of a story.
Yeah.
That said, I don't think that any of this idea that like it's post-rapture, that I think don't they cover that at a title card at the beginning? It's a post-rapture world.
Yeah, there's several title cards or chapter cards throughout the film.
Yeah. And so
scripture
it sets that up. Right, it's a post-rapture world and that humanity has given up the sin of speaking, right? So that's the setup, I found this movie actually to be quite tense and unnerving, right, at times. I think they did a really good job of playing up that feeling that you don't know what's going to happen, and it's I don't know, man. I'm hesitant to say scary. I don't really feel like this movie was scary, but it was tense at times. There was a decent amount of gore at times.
There was a lot of gore.
Yeah.
There was a lot of gore in this movie.
Yes. And there's horrific creatures.
Violence and gore.
Yes.
Plenty.
Yes. Plenty of violence and gore. This one worked for me, man. I was surprised, especially going into it. I had no idea that it was a dialogue-free movie. Man, I loved this film. I don't think there was a single point where I felt like the runtime was too long. Right? I mean, in spite of a lack of like any verbal pushing, right? Nothing is presenting you a story or anything. I felt like the action kept going. You know, kept the plot moving forward.
Yeah,
and
the action was really good.
The action's very good.
There was a lot of good stunt work. There was a lot of good kills in this.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
so yeah,
pretty disturbing creature design. Not maybe by the end, not entirely sure what's going on. I'll be honest. Near the end of this film, I wasn't actually sure who I should be rooting for.
Yep.
Right. So, but yeah, man, for me, I don't know how, because it shouldn't have worked, but I think it did. I actually really, really enjoyed this one.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Now, I know that you did like the No One Will Save You.
Yes.
Right? That other dialogue-free movie we had.
Yes.
Did this one work for you, though?
All right. So here's my take on this film.
Okay.
Shh. I'm wondering if Samara Weaving either owed somebody a favor or they're blackmailing her, or she's being held captive in a community college basement and they're forcing her to do films as school projects. Yeah. Samara, if you are watching this and you need help, just text or call
Me.
or Twitter.
Shane. Call Shane.
Or anything. Just say the words, "The Watcher was a great film." We'll understand what you mean, because nobody else would say that. Ever.
Yeah.
So if you need help, in fact, you know what? We're going to add this. If you need help, reach out to us. We'll come and find you. We will come and find you. Yeah, that was...
I will admit, like, I did think the same thing. Like, what is she doing in this movie? I don't get it.
I don't know how many times I looked at my watch going, oh my word, there's still this much time left. It really? felt okay. Now, this movie won, like, it was nominated for awards for, well, at least one award at Stitches for the best motion picture film of 2024.
I wouldn't go that far.
This I'm sorry, I'm gonna say it. This film made Cuckoo look like a masterclass.
Oh no, totally disagree.
I had such a hard time. This film felt so amateur to me. There was so many. I don't think it understood what it wanted to be. There was like this whole storyline with these creatures, and then there's this whole storyline with this group, and then there's like her, and I'm like, why does nobody learn sign language? And
yes, I will agree with you on that too.
There was so many different aspects of this that I was just like, it just doesn't fit together. And then all of a sudden there's this ending that I'm just like, that's the payoff. That's what we get. I don't know, man. It didn't work for me. It just did not at all.
Yeah.
I had a rough time. Granted, some of the action scenes were really good.
Oh yeah.
It just, overall, to me, it didn't save this film.
Yeah. I mean, there have been a handful of films over the years where, I said this was something like, what was the follow-up to Hereditary? Ari Aster's second film.
Second one? It was not Midsummer.
Yes, yeah, Midsummer.
Okay, it was You mean Midsummer?
Yeah, Midsummer.
Okay.
There have been a handful of films over the years, and Midsummer's a great example of them, where I would be like, I loved this movie, but if someone sat here and explained to me all the reasons they hated it, I would be like, yeah. And I've said that on here before.
Oh, and I love Midsummer.
Yeah, but a lot of people didn't. And this is one of those films for me where I felt like it ticked all the boxes, that I liked. Right? I'm not saying it's a perfect film. It has issues,
Yes.
and you're absolutely right about that. But it worked for me. But as you're sitting here explaining all the reasons you don't like it, I'm like, yeah, I know, I get it. You're right, I get it.
Yeah. And I'm sure most people would agree. I mean, they would disagree with me on my take on The Crow. Same sort of thing. It was like there was so much, but I enjoyed it. I had a fun time with it. So I get where you're coming from. Everybody has their own opinion, and like most of people are wrong. So anyway.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah, I mean, look. Take our opinions with a grain of salt, all right? I mean, you're talking to two guys who really hated The Shining. So, does it matter what either of us think about this movie? I don't know.
Yeah. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy and a dull film. The Shining.
Yeah.
Whoo. And Barbarian. I don't understand why people love that one, but anyway.
And with those opinions, I don't know why anybody's still watching this channel, but
exactly.
But look, going into this film, it's again, I didn't know much about it. Maybe my connection to it is that when I was, also in a cult, the whole end times thing was my jam. I loved it. And so I actually recognized some of the ideas from Revelation that they were pulling in here. And I mean, I don't know. It worked. I thought it was a unique and clever take on the idea of the rapture and a post-rapture world.
Cool.
Right? So, yeah.
No, I mean, I was kind of wondering if you would dig this one. So and I could I kind of knew going into today that more than likely you did. So I was like, all right, this is going to be an interesting conversation. I didn't say anything to you prior to this about what my thoughts were on it.
Nope.
I was going to let this play out. So anyway, I'm glad that I did, because I was like, I know where he's sitting at on this.
And often that is an indicator that one of us has that we have differing opinions.
I mean, you kind of shocked me when you were like, well, did it work? And then I was like, oh, he's gonna bag on this one. And then you're like, it did. And I'm like,
works for me. I like it.
Here we go. So anyway, let us know what you guys think of Azrael when it comes out on streaming. It's going to be on Shudder, like I said, on October 25th. You guys can check it out streaming on there. Otherwise, go check it out in theaters while it's still there. Shane loved it. I not so much. I mean, it had some good, like I said, it had some good kills and it had some good action sequences. I was just like, wow, how can someone who's like, oh, I'm so scared, be like such a badass at times? There was a few, yes. Anyway, let us know what you guys think. Put it down in the comments down below. And make sure that while you're there, hit like and subscribe. That way you guys can keep checking out the films that we talk about, even though no one's listening. Anyway, until next week, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I know that we did. I'm Chris Mass.
I'm Shane.
Get the hell out of here.
See ya.
We'll see you guys.